My husband, 29M, has no desire to start a family with me, 28F, and it's ruining my self-view. I have always wanted to be a mother more than anything. It's the first thing I told my now husband when I first met him. I wanted to be a young mother with lots of kids, and planned my whole life around it. I turned down high-paying careers in exchange for ones with more flexible hours and forgiving policies to allow me to focus on motherhood. And now, no babies or bumps in sight. My husband storms off when I bring up the subject, and describes parenthood as nothing but a loss of freedom and funds. I feel totally duped. It also feels humiliating as a woman, that my husband has no desire to get me pregnant or have a family with me. I am desperately trying to rewire my brain to not want babies, but I just can't keep lying to myself. How do I bring this up without making him angry? You want different things. You aren't compatible. You don't need to rewire your brain. You need a new husband who has the same desires as you. He lied and made you feel like he wanted kids and changed his mind. You are also allowed to change your mind about this marriage and leave. Don't waste any more time with him. You will grow resentful. Stop trying to change who you are and your desires. He married you full well knowing you wanted children and is now trying to bully you into giving up your heart's greatest desire. That's terrible. He's not the partner you want or need. Leave him and find someone else who wants kids, or else just have them on your own. Absolutely divorce him. This isn't a thing you can or should compromise on. If you want kids, you can either try to meet someone else who has kids, or you can look into being a single mother by choice with a sperm donor. Don't wait any longer. You don't want to talk him into having kids. I can't imagine parenting with someone who didn't really want kids. You are young. Life is too short to settle. You don't rewire your brain, you leave him. He lied to you to get you to marry him. Leave. I mean, you have to also consider how much he means to you versus the kids you don't yet have. If having kids is something you would leave him over, then leave. It's not good to just drag out the situation, and if he doesn't want kids, then he doesn't want kids. You can't force kids on him. Get a divorce. This is no different than the woman that claimed to not want kids to pin down a guy they desire only to magically end up pregnant. It's a bait and switch. Update. I, 40M. Want to contact a friend I fell in love with, 34F. Now that I am divorced. Opening square bracket. This did not get much attention, but I want to update because a few people said go for it. I contacted Ellie the day after my post. She agreed to meet me for dinner that night. She looked as amazing as ever and our conversation started off light and pleasant, but she did eventually want to talk to me about my omission of my marriage from our conversations. She was hurt our friends did it too, but they have maintained the same thing the entire time. Our marriage was over, I just hadn't accepted it yet. I didn't explain why in my post, but my ex-wife was cheating on me. I was trying to forgive and forget it for a while, but my friends knew me better than I knew myself. It doesn't make it right, but we all make mistakes. My ex and I threw in the towel because I couldn't trust her as she kept going back to her affair partner. Ellie pointed out that I did something very untrustworthy by not telling her about my marriage. I admitted she was right and I apologized to her. I asked her if there was anything I can do to repair it. She told me that she'd forgive it as long as I promised her to never to do it to her if we became serious. If it came to the point that I didn't even want to talk about her anymore, we'd talk about it or end it. She said that I also need to speak to our friends and let them know that it wasn't cool of either of us. I agreed and we did speak to them, but I don't think we have to worry about them doing it again either. We started dating seriously and the difference between relationships is night and day. We weren't going to rush, but she suddenly became homeless last month due to a fire started by her neighbor's child on the other half of her duplex. The only things that survived were her, the cat, and her fire safe. While we wait for insurance and things like that, we are taking this as a dry run to live together. If we decide it's fine by the time to check comes, she will put the money into a savings account and we'll save it until we decide to marry, and then I'll put her on the deed to the house. She's already told me that she doesn't foresee the other scenario of her moving out happening, even though it's only been a month. We've already settled into a daily routine that works and we love it. Too long did not read. I made the phone call. We talked about my violation of her trust, but she was willing to give me a chance despite it. We weren't going to rush in, but she lost everything in a house fire and we are trying to see how we do living together. We are very happy and very much in love. We aren't going to rush in. We're gonna see how we do living together, ha 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 man, that kinda cracked me up. No judgment though. Super glad you guys are feeling each other, and no matter what happens, It sounds like this will be a good experience for both of you. That's great, but slow the F down. It's way too early to be talking about deeds and marriage. I hope things work out for you. This is a dumpster fire top to bottom. You're exhibiting a pattern of making poor choices. Damn, not good to go 0-100, especially right after leaving a marriage. Look up, white knight syndrome. A lot of that here. Side note, it sounds like you have another problem, as Chucky is likely hunting your potential wife to be down via house fires. Reading your other post, I hope Ellie leaves before you have another emotional affair with someone. You didn't even have the balls to tell her you were married, and then you broke her heart too. Let her stay with you until she finds a new place. But living together this soon is moving way too fast. Her name goes on the deed after you are married. Maybe. Unless she spends that insurance money buying a percentage of your equity. Just slow down and think about this. My girlfriend has no romantic bone in her body. I am dating the most wonderful woman who is funny, charming, loyal, independent, gorgeous, and an awesome lover. I am having the time of my life with her, and it's awesome. We can have deep conversations, and in the same breath we can spend hours discussing whether people who order pineapple on pizza should get a trial or just be thrown in a pit and be forgotten about till the end of time. But she is not romantic at all. No small gestures or date nights, no random hugs or kisses, nothing. I know it makes me sound whiny, but I am a sucker for romance, lol. And don't get me wrong, if I do anything romantic for her she really appreciates and loves it. But she never does it on her own. Now this is not a deal-breaker, far from it, but I would like to hear advice from people like her in this regard. Should I approach her about this? I am happy to be the romantic one in the relationship because honestly she brings so much to the relationship that I am so happy and satisfied. Any advice would be appreciated. You didn't state how old you both are. I was that girl back in my 20s, I'm 60 now. I didn't have any good examples to follow as far as relationships go. My parents' relationship was toxic, to put it mildly. I had to learn how to love and express love. When I met my romantic husband, who passed away last year, it was so strange for me to have someone so physical. We were married almost 39 years, and it definitely took me a while to accept touch and impromptu romantic gestures. You need to start by communicating you'd like those gestures time to time. It's not her normal method of showing affection, so it'll require some active thought and communication. It's not a big deal in my opinion to switch up love languages to mix it up and make your partner happy. Was like this. I was neglected as a child. Didn't have romantic figures. My parents split up when I was 7 and they cheated on each other before that, and were enemies after splitting, and never saw a romantic gesture in my life. Now romantic gestures feel awkward. I'm romantic in the sense I like romantic things, and I say romantic things because I developed my romantic side. But gestures. I don't know what that means. Take the Love Languages online quiz together and compare results. The test itself isn't anything crazy, but it can be a good starting off point to talk about how each of you prefers to give and receive affection from a partner. Maybe you are just not connecting on how you are showing each other you care. Now this is not a deal-breaker, far from it, but I would like to hear advice from people like her in this regard. Should I approach her about this? Why? Just let the lady be. First, stop lying to yourself that you don't have a problem with this. Hard to change someone's personality. Sounds like she is a winner in every other aspect. Currently in a new relationship that's one of my first non-toxic ones. I am that girl. I don't know how to kiss, hug, or anything like that. But I think just having a simple conversation over your love languages will help. She'll just have to try and keep it in mind. It's really hard to feel comfortable enough just to hug and kiss people. Sometimes I struggle even showing my own child affection. If you come from very toxic backgrounds or never had that kind of influence. Age would have been nice to put in here. I'd say approach her about this, she should clearly know what you like. Make sure to make it sound friendly, and not like you're trying to blame her for it. 28 male, cried in front of my date. I am ashamed. The last 3-4 months have been very stressful. First my brother's whole family got COVID and my 2-year-old niece had to be hospitalized. She is completely okay, thank God. And then my father had a freak accident which resulted in his cornea being damaged and he had to get an operation, but I wasn't able to go because I was COVID positive. He is recovering after a successful surgery. So, I have been stressed. Anyways, it was our second date and I was dropping her home. She offered to hug me and I took her up on the offer. And that's when this happened. I just couldn't control myself when she embraced me and she was playing with my hair, which made it even more difficult to stop. I must have made a fool of myself for 10 minutes before stopping. She didn't mention anything, gave me a kiss on the cheek and then left. She later messaged me to ask if I had reached safely and that she had a very good time and was looking forward to our next date. But I am feeling ashamed to talk to her now. How can I face her now after the disaster the other night? There's no way she actually wants to see me, right? So what should I do here? She called me 2 times but I told her I was busy and didn't really talk much. WTF do I do here? Bro, I totally know how you feel, but it's okay, she didn't reject you and clearly cares about you. Don't let her slip through your fingers, she's a keeper. She called you twice afterwards. And you didn't respond. Women who aren't interested do not call you. Damn man, message her before it's too late. You've nothing to lose, and everything to gain. Best of luck bro. I just talked to her. I suspect she called to make sure you're okay, just explain the situation. My boyfriend of 2 years cried on the 3rd date. This definitely doesn't have to be a relationship ruiner. She's definitely still interested. Call her today. Tell her what you said here. Explain that you were just overcome with emotions due to some major stress you've been under. She felt like a safe space to let some of that go. Crying is a totally normal human response to stress. If anything, I'm sure she's flattered you felt comfortable enough to be vulnerable with her. Dude, she likes you. Your emotional reaction did not turn her off. Call her, if you want her, and set up the next date. You shouldn't be ashamed for being human. This breaks my heart to hear that you are ashamed of showing emotion. She probably found it refreshing to see a man open up. Call her and believe her when she says she is looking forward to seeing you again. There is no disaster here, she wants to see you again, and you showed a completely normal and acceptable behavior in an obviously very trying time for you. Chin up Chuck, it's all gonna be okay. Edit. Just to say don't worry about it too much, just move on and keep talking to her normally, she won't think any less of you for having normal human emotions.